I am your host, Claudiu Murgan. For older episodes, please visit Oraver's network, spiritualinspired.ca, and our YouTube channel. My guest today is Barbara McAfee, and today we'll talk about music and why sound is important in our life, about her books and her certified music program. So, Barbara, thank you for joining me.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
You have so much experience in the music world and sound world that you have about 12 years in organizational development before becoming a full-time voice coach. What was the moment you realized that voice, not strategy or systems, was the real lever for change in organizations?
Well, that's a great question. I actually decided not to try to change organizations. I decided that people were my thing. The organizations are most of the time things that run on money. And humans have spirit and heart and soul, and I'm more interested in that. And I always brought that kind of perspective to my work as an organizational consultant. But I just realized that there were a lot of people who were qualified to do that, probably much more than I was, because when I started, you couldn't get degrees in that. I just learned from colleagues. And that what I had found about the voice was unique and much needed. I couldn't find anything like it anywhere. There's classical training, or there's like very practical presentation coaching, about slides and how to stand. But there isn't that deeper exploration of voice and what it can offer our lives as human beings, as leaders, as community members. And that's what just made me decide in 2003 to say, okay, I don't need to do this anymore.
Yes, and I agree with you. I have my own programs. One is called Chief Consciousness Officer, and the slogan is transform the leader, transform the organization, because you have to start with the people who will understand that an increased level of consciousness is what makes the difference, not the ROI, the KPIs, and all those numbers which make no sense at the end of the day. It's the people who make the organization, and if you change them, then everything else will change. So yes, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very similar idea.
Yes. The five elements framework you put in place breaks the voice into earth, fire, water, metal, and air. Was there a specific element you personally struggled to access, and how did learning to use it change you?
Well, the elements framework that I created is was a organic emerging thing that was born out of noticing my own voice and how when I changed my voice, my life changed as well. And and then also just noticing other people's voices and how their voices reflected their gifts. So the person who's very calm in what I call the earth voice, which sounds like this, they're often really solid. They're great in an emergency, but they might not be the most exciting speaker, for instance. And the fiery people are passionate. That's my home. And they might be a bit much if you are trying to have a tender conversation with them. The water voice sounds like this, and this is wonderful for healers. A lot of healers come from the water, and it's all about the heart. So, delivering bad news, or saying you're sorry, or expressing empathy. Metal is very bright and shiny, and it's a great way to get louder without any strain, and it also can really make your thinking more focused and clear. And then the air voice is all about the dream, the imagination, the spirit. And that was the one I disliked the most because I'm a very tall woman and I'm smart and I'm from originally from Minnesota in the United States, very practical. And so I just didn't think that light, sweet, uh, elegant voice had anything to do with me. And it did. So that was my least favorite.
And how your programs were perceived and viewed by the leaders and corporations you work with?
Well, I work with all kinds of different people, but I think it because of my background in organizational change and leadership, I can make a very good case for how much the voice impacts good relationships. A lot of what I did when I was a consultant was communication training and conflict resolution. And so often it wasn't what people said, it was the tone they used. And my work is all about tone. And so I think I have a pretty good handle on saying, whatever happens in this world happens because people have a conversation. Nothing else much happens without that. And the effectiveness of that conversation really depends not just on the words, but on how people are saying what they're saying.
Yes, the tone of our voice is very important. And also, I've noticed that even when we write an email, which bothers us, if we reply right away with that feeling of bothering and emotional stress, let's say, it will show in the way we wrote those words. And
Yes.
the person receiving it will notice it right away. So that's why the advice or the suggestion will be, step away from that bothering email, take 5, 10 minutes, relax, breathe in, then go back and write it with a smile on your face so it will have a happy ending in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're relying so much on text and email these days that I think, are misunderstanding each other even more because we're not reading the body language, the face, the tone, uh, and we're all going so fast also that I think it's much easier to miss each other. And then we're also working across a lot more differences internationally, culturally, and I think that sometimes we have to work harder to connect and often don't know what to do if it's not working. We usually persist in what's not working instead of being able to shift into something a little different, a different tone, a different quality, and then look for the light in the eyes, and then you know you've got something.
Yes, and I think the cultural differences is also an important aspect because if you and I talk about a specific subject and we are in North America and we have the same mindset, but we switch the discussion to someone which is in the, let's say, Middle East or Asia, they might not understand the context and they might somehow feel offended or, take it out of context. So we really have to be careful with how we um, work that conversation over the air, through it,
Mm-hmm.
through technology.
Yeah, it's true.
Have you worked with any known celebrity to mend their voice and make them sound much better?
No.
Short answer.
Listen, no, I work with the most amazing people, and they come with lots of different questions or needs. And some of them, I'm working with a woman right now who has been in the leadership, development kind of space for a long time, but her voice is just worn out. She's an older woman and she's used the same part of her voice over and over and over again. And that can cause repetitive stress injury, kind of like if you use the same part of your body all the time without rest or conditioning. And so I'll work with somebody with a really tangible issue like that. And then I've worked with a lot of people recovering from trauma. We all have it, but in various degrees that feel like their voices got shut down. I work with a lot of leaders who maybe got promoted because they're technically really smart, and then suddenly they have to deal with these people. It's like, oh, help me. Or they're doing public speaking and it's not their favorite thing. So I work with so many different people, and more people are just coming to me now and saying, I just know I need to do something. I know I have something to say and I can't quite get it out, or I just know my voice has gifts for me, but I don't really know what I'm doing here. It's like, great, that's perfect. I don't either. Let's go. Your voice does.
Yes, it's an interesting field and interesting interaction because usually, again, these executives look for another management course or something else to increase their skills and, widen their experience within their field, but not this type of experience, which is amazing. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that you live in the rural Wisconsin, where everything is shaped by water, song, and silence.
Mm.
How does that rural natural setting show up in how you coach people from cities and corporations?
Well, I lived in Minneapolis for 40 years, so I know the city very, very well, and it's only an hour away. So there is that. But I think of the influence of the forest. I just walked there early this morning and swam across the river where I live, and to me it anchors my work spiritually. I also get inspired. I'm a singer-songwriter as well, so I do a lot of writing in the forest. I do lots of thinking and dreaming things up. Everything from programs to speeches to I've written my TED Talks walking, um, and to what I'm going to cook for dinner. So to me, I step into the woods and something, something just, I don't know, it just moves me. And today I came home with a huge bag of oyster mushrooms, which was, woo, joyful. So it feeds me in many different kinds of ways.
Yeah, I had a feeling that you're gonna say mushrooms, so
Well, I can see you've got some friends behind you.
yes, close friends. In fact, there are gifts from friends who knew that I'm going to set up this studio, and they said, "Okay, we found this, and we thought about you." So that's very kind of them.
That's great.
And you mentioned that walking in the forest is like a spiritual experience for you. There is any other spiritual experience that you can mention that really moved you and changed your life in some way?
So many, actually. I've been very grateful that I've had such generosity from the unseen world. And one of the things that makes my voice work distinct is I ask people and myself to invite archetypes or characters to help stretch beyond the voice we think we have. So I, Barbara, couldn't sing above here when I first found some of my teachers. And I couldn't sing above that, but the hawk, the big bird I was, sang almost to the top of the piano. And that was a mystical experience. And so I think a lot about the collective unconscious that Jung wrote about and archetypes, and just know that there are these, I don't know, disembodied energies around just looking for work. Give me something to do to help you. I think humans used to make much better use of the unseen world. They were always invoking the beings, and I think we've gotten a little away from that. And so I've had experiences I can't explain of feeling something rise up in me and come out through my voice, which is, it's like a lovely visitation. Um, and so that to me is very mysterious and spiritual and generative. And then I also, like any artist who's honest at all, there are lines in my songs that are so good I couldn't possibly have made them. And I have a good ego. I mean, I have a good sense of self-worth. But I just looked at this, I just wrote a song in the spring and I was like, well, that line
Mm.
is way too good for just falling out of my head. So I think the process of creation is full of that for me.
Thank you. Thank you. And have you ever journey with a drum?
I've done a tiny bit of that. I had a friend who did that work, and I had a wonderful, I don't know, travel with it. But I feel like I travel more on the voice, on the sound. I've started singing jazz again. That was my first performing as a soloist in my 20s. And I was so scared and nervous and vocally tied up then. And now in my little town of 2,000 people, I have found this amazing piano player and composer, and we are performing these old jazz standards together. And I feel like I travel in those songs, particularly when I'm improvising. Like I remember that we sang Blackbird, but I can't remember what we did. I just kind of I remember starting it, and then I remember landing back in my body. So I think that's more the way I move out into the realms beyond the body.